What's going on, world of YouTube? Welcome back to the Common Sense Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Grandmaster Scott, aka Scott. Joining me, as always, is my great co-host, Finley Fiction, aka Finley. Say hi to the people,
Hello.
Finley. Alright, so today we are finishing a trilogy, as it has now turned into.
More than I deserved.
Yeah. So, today we are finishing a trilogy that I did not expect to turn into a trilogy. I was honestly hoping it could have just been like one or two episodes, but here we are anyway. So, we will be finishing my explanation of the lore of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
It's a very long show.
Yeah, and don't worry, because this will go by a little bit quicker, because we only have one thing we're talking about, just one more part that had been animated, that was put to animation.
Okay.
So, before this one begins, I'm going to give you a small little pop quiz. It's not really something you had to study for. I'm just going to give you a little fun trivia thing to guess. So, this part, Stone Ocean, has one unique difference that's different from all the past parts. What do you think it is?
Oh, is it the name? Is the main character not a Joe name?
No, it is still a Joe name. I'll give you a hint. It is involving the protagonist, and it's not something you...
Is it not related to any of the past characters?
They are related to a past character.
Oh, okay.
Do you want me to just tell, or do you want one more guess?
Yes. I don't have any more guesses.
They are a woman.
Whoa. Insanity.
Yeah, it's not that much of a big reveal, but yeah, compared to all the other parts where they've all been a man to a sense, this is the first one where they're a female.
Okay.
And also,
Is this anything like the female doctor where everyone hates her for whatever reason?
Oh no, people actually kind of like Jolene.
I thought people didn't like Judy Whittaker.
Nah, people don't like Jodie Whittaker. How about if we have time after I finish explaining Stone Ocean, we can talk about Doctor Who. How's that sound?
Oh, okay.
So we start off in about, I believe Stone Ocean takes place in like 2001. Yeah, that's right. It takes place in about like early 2000. And our protagonist is Jolene Cujo, daughter of Jotaro Cujo. Although for some reason
It's called against Stone Beach?
It's actually called Stone Ocean because, well, Jolene's a criminal.
Oh.
Yeah, kind of. Basically, she was on a joyride with a boyfriend of hers. I don't remember his name, but I'm just going to call him Nomeo. But not like from that Nomeo and Juliet movie without the G. So like N-O, Nomeo.
Okay.
But I think his name's actually Romeo. Or Roman? I don't remember. He'll just be Nomeo. So, she was on a joyride with Nomeo when they accidentally hit a guy. So,
wow.
He convinced her to throw the car and the body into a swamp. And she was eventually caught, both of them were, but she was told by her lawyer to basically take a plea deal
you said they threw the body into a swamp?
Yeah. With the car.
This is interesting to me because I just finished watching the first season of Iron Fist and there was a lot of that.
Getting into the Sam Raimi part of Marvel.
No.
Not Sam Raimi,
Sam
Sony.
Raimi at all.
Right, no, I apologize. I meant Sony.
It's not Sony either.
Netflix? Wait, is Iron Fist part of the MCU?
All the shows with Iron Fist, Daredevil, Luke Cage, and Jessica Jones, they all originally aired on Netflix.
Right. But I also know that they're trying to connect them to the MCU. At least
yes,
they're trying.
Now they are, finally. And I am happy about it.
Yeah, we finally get Daredevil.
He's such a cool character.
Yeah. So, with Stone Ocean, her lawyer tells her to basically take a deal where she admits to everything. Except she's lied to because there was more to the case than she was told. She thought it was simply that she was getting arrested for hitting a guy with a car and disposing of the evidence. Turns out the guy actually died, so she gets arrested for vehicular manslaughter.
Apparently, well, no. In real life, I don't think that would happen, because if it wasn't intentional, I think they would just fine you.
Well, I think there was also alcohol involved. But
yeah, I think they would also fine you for that.
Well, whatever the case was that got her arrested, she was arrested anyway, and she was taken to a penitentiary in Florida called the Green Dolphin Penitentiary, also sometimes called.
I'm not denying that that's not what happened in the show. I'm just saying this would not happen in real life.
Well, this is anime, and she kind of had to get arrested for the plot to happen.
Yep.
Yeah, so she gets arrested and taken to a jail in Florida called the Green Dolphin Penitentiary, often called the Aquarium, because it's near ocean.
Okay.
And this is that kind of prison where two things...
like a Marvel prison.
It is kind of a Marvel prison, but the one difference is that people don't wear orange jumpsuits. Like, you can just kind of dress however you want.
I'm pretty sure a lot of prisons are actually like that in real life.
Oh, well, there's one realistic thing they got right.
Actually, I don't really know a lot about prisons, so nobody quote me on that.
Yeah, neither do I. Most of what I know just comes from cop shows like Psych and NCIS.
I do research on other things.
Same here. Like, I mostly do research on, like, just video games and anime and comics and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's arrested. So not only is this the kind of prison where a person could wear whatever they want, but this is also the kind of prison where prisoners of all ages can be accepted. Like, you could be a teenager or you could be an old person.
No, that is horrible. That is a horrible idea.
Yeah. But it's also a semi-co-ed prison. It's the same kind of where it's like they have men and women, but they're on opposite sides of each other.
That is peculiar.
Yeah. A lot of prisons will do that. Not a lot.
I am aware of the whole gender separation in prison.
Yeah, so they will do this. And also, again, the prison's in Florida, so make whatever jokes you want.
I don't have any jokes.
And that's fair, there's too many.
Wow, it's Florida. It's not great there, but they do have Disney World.
Yeah, true. So anyway, so she's in prison, and before she gets to the prison, she's given a gift from a member of the family. Oh, also, the lawyer was actually crooked because he was working with Nomio. He was actually Nomio's family's lawyer. But they were both paid a lot of money to get Jolene thrown in prison and Nomio off the hook.
Okay.
Yeah, and also, before she gets to the prison, she's given a weird thing from Nomio's family lawyer, which it's initially, it just looks like a regular locket, weirdly shaped like a scarab, that just has a picture of her mom and dad. But, when she opens it, she gets stabbed in the thumb.
Okay.
Because inside the locket was none other than a fragment of the stand arrow.
By the way,
yeah.
If I go on mute, it's because somebody is coming to my room because it's the weekend and people are home. So.
Understood.
We're recording this during the weekend.
Yes, we are. So, she got pricked by the stand arrow, and this also does give us a little bit of advice about the stand arrow, how you don't have to get impaled with it, how just simply it drawing blood could give a person a stand. So, there's something. So,
wait,
yeah.
How do you get stands again? It's like...
you have to get either your blood drawn or get impaled by a mystical arrow. Which I almost forgot to mention. I also forgot to mention this in when I was explaining Golden Wind, but we actually do learn the origin of the arrow in Golden Wind. Where basically a mysterious meteor crashed in Cape York I think that's in Alaska? I don't remember. It crashed in a place called Cape York, and it created a weird energy and metal, and when the researchers went to investigate it, they were all poisoned by it, and it turned in how their whole bodies, like, grow mold on themselves or something. They basically all died. One person did survive, and they turned the material, metal, and energy from the meteorite into a series of, 7 arrows. And those would eventually be the stand arrows.
7 is another magic number.
It is a magic number. It's a lucky number.
I'm 13.
Oh, no.
Actually,
it's a magic number if you're a Swiftie.
But in the Marvel Netflix shows, apparently a bunch of the shows had a secret 13th floor.
Oh, a secret 13th floor. That is weird.
Because when we were watching it, one of my brothers was like, this has been done in the Netflix shows multiple times, and I was a bit sick of the trope. That's just odd.
Someone at Sony really likes the number 13.
Again, it's not Sony.
I haven't seen any of the Netflix shows.
Well, Sony is not involved in them.
Okay. Thank God, we already know Sony does enough damage.
Yeah, they did make Madam Web. I liked Madam Web.
Oh, I heard it did not do well.
Oh, it's not doing great. People just hate it.
I wonder if it's because of the writing or because it's a female-led superhero movie.
Oh, maybe that is conservative, which I do not agree with because I'm not sexist.
Yeah, I'm not either.
But I feel like the part that makes it suffer the most probably is just direction.
Probably. That's the biggest complaint that people have with MCU right now. There's just no direction. They just keep trying to make everything connected. They're just trying to prove that everything's connected to everything so that they can,
I feel like if this movie was going to be better, they should have just hired a better director.
That's the best way to put it. Everything's kind of gone downhill ever since James Gunn left.
Well, not entirely, I feel like.
Yeah.
Actually, I can't think of anything good that has happened since Guardians. I'm sure there's something.
I mean, Loki Season 2?
What? Yeah, I liked Loki Season 2.
And I can't think of anything else. Although I've heard Echo was good.
I have not seen Echo. I might see Echo. We'll see how that goes.
I'm planning on watching it.
Remember what the topic is?
Oh, yeah, thank you for reminding me. Okay, so Jolene gets pricked with the arrow, and as she's going along with it, just getting to the prison, she slowly starts awakening her stand, which at first just starts as a thread, which she uses to save a friend she made in prison from getting sexually assaulted. Yeah, she met a friend in prison named Hermes, and she's actually going to be important later, but for now she was just that friend who kinda taught her the ropes in prison, and by that I mean she gave her one advice saying that money is necessary. And she basically just told her to bribe people with cash.
Okay.
Which I guess kind of makes sense. But then she tries to get sexually assaulted, and Jolene cuts a guy's ear off.
This is exactly why you don't put men and women in the same prison.
Yeah. Oh no, Hermes was a woman.
Oh. Wait. Who sexually assaulted her?
Cops. Police officers who just wanted to do things to her.
Oh, I guess this is not the best example of that.
Nah, although Jolene does cut one of the guy's ear off.
Good.
Yeah, that was part of her awakening to the stand when it was at first still just a random string, and she used that same string to kill her corrupted lawyer. Yeah, she has a surprising body count.
Wow.
And she's 15 or 17. She's under 20. And she already has bagged a single corpse, too, technically.
Got it.
Yeah. And then eventually she finds out that her cellmate, I forgot her cellmate's name, but she's also a stand user. Not really evil. She is evil at the beginning, and then she's never mentioned until a later episode. But it was through her that her stand became fully awakened, and she named it Stone Free. And if you're wondering why it's not called Stone Ocean, again, thing with JoJo's is that the stand technically has two different names. There's the English localization name, and then there's the actual Japanese name.
Okay.
Like how technically Golden Experience can also be Golden Wind, or how Shining Diamond can be Crazy Diamond, and similarly, Stone Ocean can be Stone Free. It's widely accepted as Stone Free, though.
You said all of the stands after whatever were.
Technically, there's two different themes.
Right?
Yeah, technically there are two themes. You could name it after a song, but when it comes to the protagonists, their stands are always named in some way after the title of the show. Like how Diamond is Unbreakable, Josuke's stand was called Crazy Diamond. In Golden Wind, his Giorno's stand was called Golden Experience. So similarly here, Stone Ocean's protagonist stand is called Stone Free.
Question, can you hear banging in the background? Because I think my dad is going into the attic.
I cannot, no.
Oh, okay, good.
And you're also not even having it pick up on OBS Studio or Discord, so you're fine.
Okay, because
yeah. So she gets
noises in the background.
Alright, so she defeats her cellmate mostly because she's super irritating and psychotic, and also she stole Jolene's locket.
Right.
Yeah. And well, technically she didn't steal it. Jolene dropped it into a sewer drain after she got stabbed by the arrow fragment, which then later ended up in Hermes's possession. Hermes got stabbed by the arrow, but not before she sold the locket to her cellmate.
Okay.
Because again, money makes the prison go round. And also, while she's one day while she's in prison, she gets a visit by her father, Jotaro, who changed his outfit from white to purple for some reason.
Purple's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. Like purple guy.
Which one?
Yeah, good point. Moving on.
There's another reference to the Netflix shows. They're the purple guy.
Oh, the purple man.
Also known as Kilgrave. Whoa.
Huh. Wait, are you talking about the purple man?
In the comics, Kilgrave, the character Kilgrave, is actually purple. So he's known as like the purple man.
Yeah, I've heard the purple man. He's like a mind-controlling telepath, right?
Yes. Anyway.
Yeah, one of the most powerful ones, too. Like, isn't he capable...
This is the weirdest mix of things ever. This is just us talking about the Marvel Netflix shows and freaking JoJo's.
Yeah, true. Moving on. So, Jotaro visits her because he tells her that she's in grave danger, and then she knocks out her prison guard.
Okay.
And we basically learn that her going to prison was orchestrated in a series of events by an old follower of Dio's. I forgot his name. I think it's like D'Angelo. But he's also a prisoner in the aquarium who used to be a sniper, but he's blind. But he's still one of the deadlier snipers because, you know, he's one of those, like, I'm blind, so now I have superpowers thing. Like, I can see better than people who can see.
I think those are really cool.
Oh, they are definitely cool. People like Daredevil and Toph from Avatar.
And Madam Web, which I still think is a better movie than everyone thinks. Like, it has so many problems, but still.
The one review I heard about it is that it makes Morbius look good.
It does. It makes more, like when you compare Madam Web and Morbius, Madam Web is a work of art compared to Morbius to me.
Seriously?
No, I just tried to tell you that, like, how vast the difference is between the goodness of those movies. Because I thought Morbius was, like, the worst movie I've ever seen.
Like, compared to Quantumania?
Well, I think Quantumania is much, much, much better than Morbius.
Noted. Moving back to JoJo's.
Sorry, it's just Morbius.
Yeah, everyone knows it's Morbin time.
The very worst film I have seen ever in my life.
All right, noted. So getting back to Stone Ocean. Because...
Like, it's not... Sorry, I need to talk about this. Morbius isn't even so bad it's good. It's just straight up bad. You have no fun watching it. It kills your spirit.
Like, it's not one of those, it's so bad, it's good to watch if you're drunk thing. It's just bad for being bad.
Yeah, like, a movie can be bad, but it can be still, you can acknowledge that it's bad. Be like, haha, that's stupid. With Morbius, it's just bad. It's just so boring. There was a hallway scene, and when we were watching, I was like, where are we in this movie? And I was like, oh, holy crap, we're over halfway. Get through it. I thought we were still in, like, the beginning of the second act.
Well, that is not good to hear.
Don't watch Morbius!
Understood. So, getting back to Stone Ocean.
Right.
So, we learned that that even when she hit the guy with the car, it was actually D'Angelo, or at least a contact of D'Angelo's, throwing the body at the car from out of frame, because they were basically trying to orchestrate getting Jolene into prison to kill not only Jolene, but Jotaro as well, because he killed Dio, and D'Angelo was a follower of Dio. And so madness happens. A weird kid with the baseball's also there, warning her that there's a greater threat than just D'Angelo, and he was right, because it turns out this wasn't orchestrated so that Jolene and Jotaro would be killed. It was orchestrated so that another person, who we at the time only know by his stand White Snake, we learned that he's there.
Never heard of it. The song or band or whatever this is.
My dad actually has heard of it. It's a band.
Good.
Yeah, White Snake's a band.
Is there somebody, I doubt it infinitely, but it would be amazing if somebody's stand was called Spoons.
That would be hilarious. It's like, you will never defeat me, Geostar, and my stand, the Spoons. I feel like that could be a deadly stand.
I forgot his name. What was the name of the Pokemon with the spoons?
Alakazam.
Yes, like Alakazam.
Yeah. I feel like a stand based off of...
Morbius. The only movie that I think could be even close to how bad Morbius is Wrinkle in Time.
Oh, that's bad to hear. That is a low blow.
If anybody who's watching this also don't watch Wrinkle in Time, that's another movie where I thought, wow, it felt like 20 minutes had passed, and that movie is like maybe 2 hours.
Isn't that the movie with Oprah Winfrey that tried to be Doctor Who?
Can't remember. I never felt like I lost something when I watched that movie.
Oh, that's bad to hear. So, okay, getting back to Stone Ocean, we've been going on too many movie tangents. And I don't want this to turn into a saga. I don't want to turn this into a 4-parter.
Okay.
So,
you can do it.
Okay, so White Snake shows up when they're escaping D'Angelo's stand. I forgot what it was called, but it's basically just a floating thing that can detect wind currents and allows D'Angelo to deflect sniper bullets off of it so that he can always hit his target no matter what. And that's basically it. It also only moves...
How does it work?
Basically, it allows him to read wind currents, which is how D'Angelo's able to see things that move by reading the wind currents change. And it can also deflect bullets, so he fires at the stand so that it deflects the bullet at whatever moves. And it also only... Yeah.
First, like, the wind current, I get that makes sense. I feel like you should be able to detect a target by, like, smelling them, which I think would make more sense.
Yeah, well, to be fair, the guy was in a watchtower far away, so he couldn't smell.
Yeah, that somebody like, oh, it's his stand power or something. Wait, do they not have a stand?
No, the sniper did have a stand. That's the thing it deflected bullets off of and read wind currents with. It's basically a living wind chime, to help you. It's basically a living wind chime.
That's a cool sniper name.
Yeah.
And every time somebody gets shot, you hear a wind chime in the distance.
It's not that it's not that it makes the sound of a wind.
I was making a joke.
Oh, okay. So moving on. So White Snake. Whitesnake. Whitesnake is a stand that has the power to take a person's memory and stand, and which basically means its soul, and turn it into indestructible discs. So he takes Jotaro and rips out both his memories and his stand Star Platinum, which basically leaves Jotaro as an empty husk and on the verge of dying. So Jolene manages to get her father out of the aquarium back to Speedwagon Foundation so that they can...
There were so many Joe names.
Yeah. Well, it is JoJo's.
Like Joanne, Jolene. Maybe I should have called the Maximum 5 by Joe names.
Maybe. If you haven't kept up with Epithets Never Last, then go watch the current latest episode that's been up.
Yeah, I have plans to set up the next one soon. Okay.
I can't wait. So, anywho, getting back... So Jotaro's back at the Speedwagon Foundation so that they can keep him alive for as long as they can, but according to the boy with the baseball getup, who his name is Emporio, by the way, he basically says that without the discs, Jotaro's going to die.
Okay.
So she has a mission where, at first her mission was simply to just survive in prison and then get back at her ex. But now her mission is to save her father and find the identity of the stand Whitesnake. And also, Hermes is now a stand user.
Okay.
Yeah, her stand is called Kiss, obviously named after the band. And its power is that it can create stickers, and when she puts the sticker on something, it creates a duplicate of it.
Is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure ongoing?
The manga is, but we do not know when it will get animated next.
Okay, because it would be funny if somebody had a stand named Blackpink.
No, what I think would be perfect is if there was a stand called All-Star.
I can come up with the best stand names.
Oh, I thought of some good stands as well, like Newsboys,
like
Black
it's really
Parade.
Not that hard, actually. Just find a band.
Yeah, find a band, find a song, find an album, find an artist with a weird name, like Metallica, and you're set.
Yeah.
So, getting back. So, the reason why Emporio is helping is because he was actually born in the prison and his mom was killed by Whitesnake. Why? We don't actually know.
Why was there a pregnant woman in a prison?
We don't know.
If she was an inmate, maybe.
I think it was the inmate, but we don't actually know. His mom's basically just nameless and unknown, and Whitesnake just killed her. I think it's because she was a stand user, because we learn later that he's been killing a bunch of stand users and taking their stands so that he can create an army of stand users to kill Jolene and her friends.
Huh.
So, there's that. But he was also doing this because he needed a specific stand in order to carry out Dio's final wish. Because, I guess to explain, Whitesnake's user is a man named Enrico Pucci. What?
I didn't say anything.
Oh. Okay. So, Enrico Pucci, he's a priest who met Dio and basically fell in love with him, and Dio made him his archbishop to carry out his will if he is to ever die. So, Enrico Pucci is basically Dio's successor. So, and Dio, before he died, the last thing he had said to Pucci is that he has a plan to create heaven, a perfect world. And he didn't tell him. He said, when you're ready, come find me in Egypt and I'll tell you then. But by the time Pucci got to prison, Dio was killed, and the notes that Dio had on how to create heaven were burned and read by Jotaro right after he had killed him. So that's why all of this happened. He tricked his daughter into going to prison so that he could get Jotaro to the prison so that Pucci, who was working as a minister to the inmates there, could find him and take his memories. He technically didn't have to take his stand, he just did it to spite him for revenge.
Okay.
And he also did this with help of D'Angelo because, again, he was an inmate who was also a loyal follower of Dio. So they basically had a mutual help. Although right when he gets the discs, he kills D'Angelo because he didn't want him anymore.
Got it.
So, yeah. Also, one of the stands he gets is actually just a bunch of microorganisms that turn into a living stand made of water and microorganisms called Foo Fighters.
Oh my gosh. Foo Fighters.
Yes, indeed. So, yeah. They eventually help Jolene and Hermes find Whitesnake and put a stop to him because she gave it some water and kept it from dying. So they're now friends, and it took over the body of a dead girl.
By the way, if anyone doesn't know, Foo Fighters are a band. I recommend them.
Ah, nice. I did know that they were a band, but thank you for the recommendation.
You didn't know that?
I'm not... Most of the music I listen to are either Christian artists or people who make songs based off of video games. That's like
I listen to very, very few Christian artists, actually.
My favorite ones are Mercy Me, Newsboys, For King and Country, Casting Crowns, and Stephen Curtis Chapman. I also like Toby Mac.
Sanctus Real?
Oh, I love Sanctus Real.
Okay.
I also love Jordan Feliz.
We have stuff to talk about after this recording.
True. So, moving on. So, Foo Fighters is now one of Jolene's friends. Also, Emporio...
Sorry, Foo Fighters makes me so happy.
Yeah, it's also a cool stand, too. It also takes over the body of a dead girl.
Okay.
Yeah, during the outing when they met with Foo Fighters, they were out in a marsh with explosive wristbands on, and one of the girls got too far away from the proximity and blew up. Like, she basically just lost like half of her body. So Foo Fighters possessed her body and used his ability to kind of shift, but not really, to fill in what was lost. So now it's a bunch of microorganisms taking over a dead girl.
Okay.
They were a good character, though, surprisingly strong, because they're they're basically immortal so long as they're near a water source because they can just regenerate themselves.
Okay.
They can also finger gun.
Right.
So, yeah. Okay. So Jolene, Hermes, Foo Fighters, and Emporio are working to help. Also, Emporio's a stand user.
Okay. What's his stand called?
Burning down the house.
Yes.
Yeah, it basically has
love this.
It basically
so
has
much.
Basically, burning down the house has the power to create a ghost space where he can store things and go into a ghost room, but only in the prison. Because there was a fire there a few years ago, and he can just be in a room that was destroyed. He can't eat any of the food that's in there, but he can kind of taste it, and it always restarts. So it's kind of a flavor thing for him. There's also a ton of books, so that's how he learned to read and write, by reading a ton.
Okay.
And he also met with two of the inmates there who said that they would help him. These two are... I forgot one of their names. I think it was like Anastasia. And despite how that sounds, they're a guy who's in love with Jolene.
I don't discriminate against what people's names are.
Yeah, fair point. So, Anastasia. I don't remember... I think that's his name. All I remember is... Well, I'm not going to say what I remember because that's a bit of a spoiler. So, Anastasia. His stand is called Diver Down, and its powers are kind of inconsistent. It basically...
I did not know that song or band.
Huh.
Right.
So, anywho. So, Diver Down has the power to either let Anastasia dive himself into solid surfaces so he can kind of ride on the walls. He can implant parts of his stand into surfaces so that it can attack later. And it can also enter the inside of a person so he can rework whatever inside of them.
Okay, that's kind of gross.
Yeah. He's also a murderer. He's always had a weird fascination ever since he was a child with disassembling things. Like, he went to...
I love characters who like murder people out of like fascination or like out of just some weird fixation.
Yeah.
I think it's so creepy.
It is creepy. So for him, he's had a weird fascination with disassembling things ever since he was a kid. Like when he was 12, he disassembled his dad's car and got sent to juvie And one day when he was older, he walked in on his girlfriend cheating on him, so he disassembled them
Oh.
and got sent to Aquarium, where he's been a lone wolf for a bit, but the only reason why he's siding with Emporio is because he found out that Emporio's helping a woman named Jolene, obviously the main character, and he's in love with her. Like, so much so that he keeps trying to marry her over and over again. And confesses...
We're still talking about the disassembling guy.
Yes.
Right? So does he, like tear apart squirrels and send each individual limbs to her? That would be cool.
No, in fact, when we meet him, he never disassembles anything.
Oh, okay. Well, I feel like that would be very on brand for this character.
Although he does once put a wedding ring on her while she's sleeping, and then she throws it to some alligators.
Ooh.
To be fair, she didn't know because she was just woken up by Hermes telling him, "Hey, look, alligators!" So she just throws something at them without knowing what it was, without knowing it was the wedding ring. It just looks confused at him while he's super upset.
Oh.
So he's basically a dejected romantic. And then alongside them, there's also a guy there named Weather Report, with his stand, Weather Report.
Wow, how creative.
Yeah, he has amnesia through the whole thing. He knows nothing about himself. All he knows is how to use his stand Weather Report, which has the power to manipulate the weather, which is more vague than it sounds. Because it's let him do things like create a rain cloud indoors, create astronaut suits out of stray oxygen molecules, and make it rain poisonous toads, frogs, and fish. Yeah, it's really... Yeah, it's really random. He also later gains an ability which lets him... I'm going to hold off on that because that's a slight spoiler. So moving on. So, with Emporio, Weather Report, Anastasia, Jolene, Hermes, and Foo Fighters, they're basically just trying to go around the prison trying to find White Snake and fighting other random stand users. One of them having the longest name we've encountered, being... I think it was like... Not Linwa. I forgot its name. Well, if I can't remember it, then I'm moving on.
Okay.
So, eventually we find one of the stand users he created, who was a guy named Sports Maximum, and he actually had a tie to Hermes. He's basically the leader of a gang, and he killed her sister, so Hermes robbed a gas station to get to Aquarium so she could kill him.
Okay.
And to be fair, she actually does kill him, but not before he activates his stand, Limp Bizkit. Yes, it's called...
Limp Bizkit.
Yes, and it's more terrifying than it sounds. It basically has the power to let him bring the dead back to life as an invisible corpse. Not a ghost, an invisible corpse. Meaning that it can still be interacted with and... like physically, it just can't be seen. And all it has is a primal instinct to consume and kill. And eventually, Sports Maximum gets killed, so he turns into an invisible corpse and then eats a woman. And almost kills Hermes, but Hermes manages to kill him. But not before he helped Poochie with his plan. Basically, before Dio left him, he gave him a part of his femur and said that this was the key, that this was part of the key to creating heaven. So,
why? Okay.
Yeah, basically, I guess to say it now, his whole plan, Dio's plan to create heaven involved these simple steps. Use this stand called Limp Bizkit to revive the bone into a green child. Then use a series of phrases, kind of like in Winter Soldier, in order to gain the green child's trust towards Poochie. And then have the baby eat the femur and bite him at the same time. At which point they would fuse, and his stand, White Snake, would evolve into Sea Moon, which has the power to essentially invert gravity. So, like, if he's standing on the regular floor, everything would go upside down. It's actually more horrifying than you think, because also if Sea Moon punches you, it inverts your arm in whatever it punches.
Creepy.
Yeah, it's grosser than you think. And Jolene also manages to fend it off by using her stand, which has the power to basically create threads to turn parts of her body into Mobius strips so that there's no gravity to invert. Well, more actually, no space for the gravity to invert because there's just a constant space. So, yeah. And then she had to go to Cape Carnel, I think that's what it is, in Florida. Carnival, that was it. I don't remember. He had to go to the Space Air and Space Museum in Florida on the full moon in order to create a stand that can create heaven.
Okay.
Yeah. So eventually they all break out of prison after defeating one of the more terrifying stands, Jailhouse Rock, which has the power to basically make it so that you can only remember 3 things at a time.
Got it.
And Jolene defeats the stand by writing her memories in literal binary code into her brain so that she can always remember the stand. And then she used the stand to distract all of the guards and get out of the prison with everyone.
Got it.
So now they're all trying to get to the Air and Space Museum before Poochie can so that they can kill him because they cannot let him get through with Theo's plan, which is the most reasonable thing ever.
Yeah.
But Poochie gets some help, not from the stand users he created, but from some other stand users. Remember how I said that Giorno was the only child that Dio allowed to live?
Yeah.
Well, that's a kind of a lie because he let 3 other women live as well, and Poochie used their children to become his bodyguards.
That's
That's
great.
Yeah, so alongside Giorno, we also have Ungolo, Donatello Versus, and Rikiel.
Okay.
And basically what they do were simple. Bungalow has a stand called Bohemian Rhapsody, which can make any fictional character...
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yep.
I know that one too.
Yeah, and he basically has the power to make any fictional character come to life. Any. No matter what. Even
like
Pinocchio, Batman, manga characters, random self-portrait of Vincent van Gogh. They can all come to life. And if you, for some reason, like the story that they're from, then you will live that character's story until the very end. Which means you better not be a fan of characters like Guts from Berserk.
Or Batman.
Or Batman.
No one.
Or Vincent van Gogh, who shot himself twice.
Van Gogh. It is Van Gogh.
I've heard it both ways. I've heard Van Gogh and Van Gogh.
I refuse to believe that his name is pronounced Van Gogh. It is Van Gogh. I don't care.
Well, agree to disagree.
Because this is a world where we can't have multiple pronunciations of things.
How do you explain data and data?
You know what's funny about what I just said?
What?
I said pronunciation, when some people pronounce it pronunciation, I think.
True. Honestly, when it comes to
I think that one is, like, grammatically incorrect, though.
True. Honestly, I just say it however my brain decides to say it, so I don't really care.
Whatever.
So, moving on. So, Bungalow is eventually defeated, then they meet with Rikiel, who, I forgot the name of his stand, but it basically lets him lets him control these fictional, theoretical things called skyfish, which are smaller than the eye can see, move insanely fast, and have the power to suck heat out of whatever they touch. He also dresses like a cow for some reason.
That's odd.
Yeah. And then we finally get to the one who actually matters the most, Donatello Versus. His stand is called Netherworld, and it has the power to unearth memories. Literally, whatever memories the Earth exposed, he can dig and make the memory come back. Whether it's the Super Bowl, a random person, a geyser, or a plane crash.
Oh, that's actually cool. Does that mean he can remember the birth of Jesus Christ?
He basically can, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, he could also figure out what happened to Jeffrey Epstein.
Probably. But we'll never know because he got turned into a snail.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I guess for context, one of the things that Poochie had, one of the discs he had when he was White Snake was Weather Report's memory. But this is the one disc he never wanted returned. Like, he would rather give up Jotaro's stand and memories rather than let Weather Report get his memories back.
Why is that?
Because with Weather Report's memories, it also unlocks his stand's deadliest power, a passive defense mechanism called Heavy Weather. Which, basically, it creates rainbows, and if the rainbows touch you, you will slowly turn into a snail.
Why?
They explain it that it's got subliminal images within the light of the rainbows so that your brain keeps thinking of snails subconsciously to the point where your body will turn into a snail.
That's stupid!
Yeah, and Poochie manages to stop himself by letting White Snake, before it turned to Sea Moon, take away his eyesight. It is definitely the most bizarre part of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
I'm gonna make you see colors that make you turn into a snail!
It's not colors, it's images. Within the rainbows are subliminal images of snails.
That's even dumber!
Yeah, that's Weather Report for you. So yeah, it is also when we get its memories back, we learn about Weather Report's backstory. And
whatever this band is, or song, or whatever, I renounce it forever.
Fair enough. So, Weather Report's backstory. We learn the truth that he is actually Enrico's estranged twin brother.
Oh.
Yeah, basically, a woman had a child die in the hospital, so she saw two twins, and she decided no one would care if one of them was gone and replaced with a dead child, so she took one of them and replaced it with the dead baby.
No.
Yeah, so the one she took was Enrico, so he was raised in the Poochie households. And as for his twin brother, his name's actually Wes, but people just call him Weather. And one day when he was working at a diner, he met a girl who happened to be Enrico's sister. And he didn't want her dating him because he thought that Wes was too dangerous for some reason. So he tried to just get a private investigator to just simply push them apart from each other. You know, make it just a mutual understanding so her heart isn't broken. Except the guy he hired happened to be a racist against biracial relationships. Because, oh yeah, Wes is black.
Oh, well, that's not great.
Yeah,
That's
so
gonna be a bit of a roadblock.
Yeah, so the guy gets a bunch of his racist buddies together, beat them up in a park, throw Wes off a cliff into the water, but leave his girlfriend alive, and she dives off the cliff to rescue him. But then she dies, and he lives. And the sadness of the death was so much for him that he awoke his stand out of pure grief.
Tragic.
And that's when he turned his entire town into snails. And Poochie used his stand that he had gotten from Dio, White Snake, to take away his memories, because that somehow disables Heavy Weather. For some reason. He let him...
That's not the dumbest thing. I think Heavy Weather is the dumbest thing here.
Yeah.
It happened.
Oh, I haven't even told you about the stand that would create paradise. So I also forgot to mention that they do eventually get the discs back from Poochie so that they can bring Jotaro back. And Weather Report also dies, but not before he tricks White Snake into punching his stand out of him so that he can give them his stand. Because he believed that if something bad were to happen, they could use it to give them a fighting chance. So they eventually get to the Air and Space Museum, Sea Moon awakens, Jolene almost dies by the trippy Inception gravity and the Mobius strip inversions. And then, when all seems hopeless, Jotaro comes back. And despite him having the power to freeze time, once again, he is completely useless. Like, I don't know why, but ever since he gained the world, he's just become weaker. Like, this is the same guy who survived several lacerations from a virtually unkillable stand and even let himself get stabbed and won. And yet he still loses so much.
Why do people like the show? There's so much messed up things that happen.
Because it's honestly got some great music and animation. Like, seriously, look after this recording, look up the Golden Wind soundtrack. It's phenomenal.
Okay.
Hang on a sec. I think my mom's calling. False alarm. She's yelling at the dog.
Okay.
Which makes sense. She's very annoying. So, moving on. So, then while they're there, Pucci realizes that he didn't have to wait 3 more days for the full moon to happen. Because of Sea Moon's ability to control gravity, he just manipulates the moon's phases and makes it a full moon. So then...
Actually, I feel like really it's not the moon. It's actually... Well, wait. Never mind.
Well, regardless of how it works, it's technically the sun's reflection on the moon based off of its position with the Earth.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know enough about freaking moon rotations for this to make sense, so let's just go.
That's fair, I only knew it because of Phineas and Ferb. So, with the full moon, the Green Child, and for some reason the Air and Space Museum, Pucci creates the stand that can create heaven, which looks like a centaur for some reason. A centaur with a clock for a face.
Does heaven look like a centaur, or does the stand look like a centaur?
The stand.
Okay.
And the stand's name is Made in Heaven.
Not Stairway to Heaven.
No, Made in.
Well, that just upsets me.
Yeah. But what won't upset you is what it does. Because like, Made in Heaven... Sense,
but I like Stairway to Heaven, so...
It's a good song. So, to explain why Made in Heaven is the stand that will create Dio's ideal world, it's because of its power. It is essentially the opposite of the world. Whereas the world has the power to freeze time, the stand Made in Heaven has the power to accelerate time.
Okay.
So, not only does that allow Pucci to move faster than the eye can see and reduce the time the world can freeze, but it also doesn't just affect Pucci. It affects the whole universe. Basically, the plan was to have the stand accelerate time so much that it creates a second Big Bang. So that way, in the next universe, Pucci would know exactly what would happen. Every single war, every single crime, every single atrocity. With this, he could avoid them all to create a world without conflict, where everyone...
He's just calling it Thanos.
Kind of, yeah. Essentially creating a world where everyone knows their place and is content with it. In Dio's mind, heaven.
I understand how this is kind of like what he's doing is technically good, but he also plan to just destroy the world before it?
Well, not that he destroys the world.
Leaving that one alone.
He's basically the Big Bang he's creating would reset the universe. So every single person that exists would just get a reset on themselves.
Yeah. So, well, I'm not sure what the morality of this is.
Well, consider...
I don't think that's great, because nobody else has a say in this.
Yeah. Also, he does plan before the universe is restarted to kill Jolene, her father, and her friends, because he believes that they're the only thing that could stand in his way. Despite him proving that he's more powerful than them all.
Well.
But Jolene does manage to kind of beat him by getting a dolphin and strapping Emporio onto it with the weather report disc and getting him to safety. So when they all die, he manages to witness a birth of a new universe get paused, because Enrico realizes that Emporio left, so he pauses partway through it so that he could kill a small child.
Wow.
But to be fair, this was
This is so petty.
Yeah, but to be fair, this was Pucci's undoing because Emporio realized what he had to do. And realized what Wes wanted them to do. So he ran to the crack in the stairwell where he's able to get into burning down the house and tricked Pucci into punching him, only to have him punch the disc into Emporio. So that way his stand would get replaced with Weather Report. And sure, while Emporio's never used Weather Report until this point, therefore isn't as proficient with it as Wes was, he reads a lot of books. He knows a lot of things about a lot of secret little tricks a person can do, which is how he was able to beat Jailhouse Rock and know about Skyfish. But he also knew one trick he could use with Weather Report to let him kill Pucci. He used Weather Report to turn all of the air in the atmosphere around them, in the room they were in, into pure oxygen. And if you didn't know, pure oxygen is poisonous.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's true, but...
Oh, it is true. Trust me. I actually do know this. Pure oxygen is very dangerous to inhale.
Why?
I don't know the actual reason, but it's really poisonous in the lungs. So what Emporio planned to do was get him in the room, turn the air into oxygen, and then use Weather Report to stand rush kill Pucci. And with his death, the world continued to reboot, with the only person who remembers the original timeline being Emporio. So he eventually saw all of his old...
remember it?
Huh?
Why is he the only one to remember it?
Because he somehow survived the second Big Bang.
Okay.
Probably because he was adjacent to Pucci while he was dying. But regardless, Emporio is now in a new universe where things with his friends are different. Hermes's sister is still alive. Jolene has a new name. I forgot what it was. And so does Anastasia, so his new name is Anakis. And they're now married. Or at least trying to get married, but she wants her father's approval first. Which in the Dead timeline, he did. He did give Anastasia approval to marry her.
Okay.
So, yeah. Jolene basically takes Emporio in because he's basically now a lost child whose friends are dead, so now he has copies of them who aren't the same, but technically still are. It's very much a Doctor Who moment. And they end the whole thing off with them picking up a hitchhiker who's Weather Report, but we never hear anything out of him. They just stop by him, pick him up, and drive away.
Okay.
And that is the lore of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, parts 1 to 6. Part 7 onward in the manga basically takes place in a reboot of the series where it takes place with new characters and old characters that were revamped.
So we're just essentially abandoning everything else. That's stupid.
Yeah. So that is the completed storyline of parts 1 to 6 of JoJo's.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
That was a lot. That took 3 videos. And each video was about an hour. It took 3 hours.
To be fair, I feel like if I were to sit down and script everything I said, it wouldn't take as long.
Probably.
But I didn't. I'm doing this kind of off hook. Just like, I'm kind of like freestyling
how we're called the Common Sense Podcast, because we have all the common sense in the world, obviously.
True. Honestly, I'm basically explaining this like an unedited version of like an Alpha Ride video where he's explaining a movie.
I don't really watch Alpha Ride that much, so that reference doesn't really.
The two reviews he did were of the Adam Sandler movie 50 First Dates and of the Space Jam sequel.
I did watch him do Romeo and Juliet, but
I love the Romeo
or horsing or a script.
I love that video.
Gosh, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. So that is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I don't believe I missed anything when explaining it.
You probably did.
I probably did. It's been a while since I've seen the show, but I'm pretty sure I did a good enough explanation of parts 1 to 6. But regardless, that's basically it. So I feel like...
You want to talk about Judy Whittaker, or should we just end?
How about we save it for the next episode?
Oh, we could.
Alright, thank everyone so much for listening to this episode of the Common Sense Podcast. Don't forget to tune in next month where we talk about Doctor Who.
Maybe, we'll see.
We'll see.
I was told I got to pick the theme.
True, I'm letting Finley pick the theme for the next episode, so stay tuned for March.
We'll see what it is.
Alright, so this is Scott and Finley signing off.
See you guys next time.